boundaries.
Yeah, it's completely fine to feel some type of way at first, you know. I think it's something you do have to get used to because it can feel like
Yeah.
you're being mean or it can feel like, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, is this harsh? Is this, but, so I do think normalizing just the feeling of it being like it might be hard or weird for people to do at first, but I do think it's something you get used to. And the way I like to see it is when you set boundaries with people in general, it actually does help the relationship become better. So whatever.
Welcome back to the Black Impact podcast, you guys, where we have conversations to heal, inspire, and empower you. I am Tiffany, your host, and I have my lovely guest here with me by the name of Brenda. She is a therapist, she is a mental health advocate, and she's also a journal creator. Welcome to the stage, Brenda.
Thank you.
Of
Happy
course.
to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. So, today's episode, we're going to talk about faith, mental health, and healing generational curses. Is that all right with you?
Of course.
So, how about you go right ahead and, tell the audience like what you do and give a description of like what type of therapy you do and things of that nature.
Yeah, so I am a licensed clinical social worker. That's my license. And so with that, I know there's a lot of confusion sometimes about like who does what. And on my page, I actually did a video for Mental Health Awareness Month, sort of breaking everything down because I think when you're in this space in mental health or the health field, well, specifically mental health field, we understand the licenses, but not everybody does. So I'll just start off by like breaking things down. So therapy is just like a general term
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who, or a therapist is a general term for anyone who holds a license in like, clinical social work or counseling, clinical counseling or anything like that, or even clinical psychology. And so, generally anybody who's a therapist has one of those licenses, or in some states it's licensed mental health counselor or something like that. And so with mine, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and the clinical is important because that means that like, you can work one-on-one with um, clients. And
Okay.
so I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So I provide therapy to patients and clients who are dealing with struggles such as, depression, anxiety, stressors in life, health related issues, um, relationship issues, grief,
Mhm.
some trauma, bipolar issues, any of those kinds of issues. That's kind of mainly what I work with. And when I say I work with, I just mean, like I help them process those issues out and um, yeah, just help them with any sort of resources they need as well.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So, what made you become a therapist? And like, was it like your personal mental health journey, or like what came along and you were just like, this is what I really want to do?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of multiple things.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first one being when I was in high school, I took a AP psychology class that I was very fascinated with, and I really liked that. So I was always interested in it. I didn't know if that's exactly what I wanted to go into
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. I just knew that I liked the class. So I think that was one of it. And then when I got to college, I kept switching my major so many times. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I, of course, started in the health field. I was like, maybe I should do nursing, this, that. And I was just
Mhm.
like, none of these are interesting to me. I don't like it. I'm not good at it. And so then um, I ended up volunteering a lot for like after school programs and things like that. I went to Towson University, so I was in Baltimore. So
Right.
there's a lot of, a lot of programs, after school programs, a lot of different sorts of resources out there. And I ended up working a lot with like kids and just volunteering through like organizations at my school.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I kind of like this. And then I I don't know what happened, but I don't know if I just prayed about it or I just got a revelation that like, okay, I think I need to do more of like at the time at my school, we didn't have a social work major, but we had something called like I think it's called family science or something like that. And so I ended up switching to that.
Okay.
And because I was like, I think I'm more interested in stuff like that because of all the volunteering and my own interest in like psychology and just helping people out. At the time I switched my major, I knew I was interested in either actually law school. I knew I
Uh,
wanted to work with families or something like
right.
that. At the
Right.
time, I didn't know quite what, but I knew I wanted to work with people essentially.
Mhm.
So I remember when I switched my major to family studies, I was like interested in like either family law
Mhm.
or like family therapy, stuff like that. So I
Okay.
went from that
Right.
and then I got a chance to take a family law class and I
Mhm.
liked that as well. So
Okay.
by that point, I wasn't quite sure exactly the population I wanted to work with, but it
Mhm.
was pretty clear that I would either be like a lawyer or a therapist, essentially. So then, fast forward, I think getting to the end of my senior year of college, I ended up just applying to my social work master's program and I got in. Like I applied so late too. One of
Oh,
my
so you
friends,
just knew you was supposed to be that was it. That was it.
yeah, I was just like, okay, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. And it just kind of worked really, really seamlessly. So that's one part of it. Another part is, I grew up with my mom having a lot of mental health issues and just watching what she had to go through and stuff like that. And so there was always that, I guess, fascination too, and wanting to know more about mental health and how to help family members and just understanding it in general,
Right. Right.
understanding what people go through. And it's giving me a different outlook, having that personal experience and then being able to help other people as well as they go through it. So that's to answer your question. That's kind of how I got started in the mental health field.
Okay. That's too. I mean, I get that.
Hmm.
I know it probably would have been a little bit fun in the law part, but
Hmm.
God gave you your purpose, so He led you
Exactly.
here. So in your experience, how can faith and mental health support one another? I'm getting down to the questions now.
That's such a great question. How
Thank
do
you.
I even explain this? How does faith and mental health, how can faith and mental health work together?
Yes. Support,
So
like support. Yeah, work together, support one another.
that's a great question. I I that is something that I have been learning a lot about personally as
Hmm.
well, because obviously, I haven't had any serious mental health issues, thank God. I just like everybody else, sometimes I get anxiety and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I'm in therapy myself too as a
Oh,
therapist. But
girl, so am I. So am I.
yeah, so I think to me, as I'm getting older and as I've gotten deeper in my faith and in my walk with God and my relationship with Jesus, I have realized that one one of the my favorite scriptures, which is seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and his righteousness, and all things will be added onto you, is literally not that it's the answer to everything, but it's a big part for me and
Yeah.
where I am in my life and understanding more about what that scripture means, right? Like I always think about the fact that that verse is literally saying, put your eye on God,
Right.
meaning read your scripture, think of things of God, like worry about that. If you're so focused on that, you
Yeah.
cannot be worried about all
Right.
the other things out of your control. You can't be doing both of those things at the same time. So that's something, and I've been learning a lot to this year, is to literally seek first the kingdom of God. Seek what he wants me to do. Seek him. Seek a relationship with him. Seek getting closer with him. Seek
Mhm.
that. And anything else that I'm worried about, anything that I'm anxious about, anything that I don't have an answer to, it will be added onto you.
Right.
The
Right.
scripture uses the word and, which means it will be in addition to it, right? So if
Right.
I do my part, he does that, right? So
Right. Right.
I think that's a big part, at least with the anxiety piece, is having that anchor, having someone, and for me, that's my relationship with God, having that as my anchor to help in my mental health. It goes hand in hand for me,
Yeah.
right? It
For me
goes
too.
hand in
It
hand.
goes hand in hand. Right.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. Like I can't do one without the other, which
Out the
is
other.
why,
Right. Right.
right, which is why my brand, to her future self, a big part of it is about faith and mental health working together, because both of those things, it shouldn't be one or the other, right?
Right.
Like me telling you about how important that scripture is to me and how it has changed my life, it does not mean that I also don't go to therapy. And I just told you I
Yeah.
go to therapy,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's just like you can see how those two things are super important, right? And God
Yeah.
created us therapists too, right? He created us to have certain skills to be able to work with people, but it should not be like a one or a either
One or the
or
other. Yeah.
thing. I think there are the only the only way that that's ever an issue is if, for instance, your therapist doesn't have the same values as you. Then it's an issue,
Mhm.
right? Because if
Right.
your therapist
Yeah.
isn't a Christian and is not and really doesn't have a relationship with
Tip of God.
Christ,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like, they may not necessarily understand or be able to help
Yeah. You
guide
guys
you.
don't align. Yeah.
Right.
For
So
sure.
just like with any other relationship, it matters that you guys are equally yoked,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
it matters that like y'all have the same values and matters that
Exactly.
you're aligned. Like so it's very important. So it does go hand in hand a lot.
Yeah.
So for me, they go hand in hand. For me, it's really about working on my relationship with God and trying to seek Him first,
Hmm. Right.
and then it actually helps with all the other
All of it.
aspects of
Yeah.
my
They like
mental
fall
health.
in line. Yeah.
Exactly.
What are some common misconceptions you hear about solving health issues that you struggle with?
About solving health issues.
Let me reread the question.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, what are some common misconceptions you hear about faith solving mental health issues? Faith,
Oh, face
not
solving
you.
mental health
Faith. Yeah,
issues.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Okay,
what I said. Let
got
me
you.
let me read reread the
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the common one is just pray about it, and obviously prayer is essential. You should pray about it. But kind of with my answer to the previous question, it's kind of like you
When
have to do more than just,
yeah,
you have to pray, you have to seek first the
you
kingdom
also
of
have
God, you have to
to do
do, right.
right.
Exactly. You have to
That
do.
yeah.
You have to do in life in general. You have
Yeah.
to do in order for things to change. And so, of course, prayer is essential and you should do that first, but it's like then do something about
Right.
it, right?
Right.
Faith
You
without
can't
works
keep
is
crying
dead.
about something and then you can't keep crying about something and then also pray about it and just not do anything and expect
Anything,
something supposed to just pop up for you. Like that's just not how it works in real.
right?
It doesn't work like
Right.
that. So
The
yeah.
Bible tells us faith without works is dead. So
Yeah.
we literally are created to do. Like we have
To
to do
do.
stuff.
We are created to be servers. To be servers.
Can you
So,
hear?
what does setting healthy boundaries look like in practices, especially for women of color?
Repeat the question. What does healthy boundaries look like in,
In practice,
especially?
especially for women of color.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you being a black woman, what does healthy boundaries for our audience look like
It looks like
for us?
standing on business. Okay.
That's right.
No, the
But like standing on business as like, cause some people standing on business is like you being mean. I mean,
mm,
of course you not being a pushover, but it's like we want to be in our femininity. Like we don't want to,
mm,
So let us know like what you mean by standing on business. Like you mean like what is it?
that's a good question. I mean, I think it just means this is how I put it. When it comes to boundaries in general, people won't respect your
hmm
boundaries if you don't respect your boundaries. So that's what I mean by standing on business. Like whatever
Yeah, yeah,
boundaries
yeah.
and whatever expectations and needs you have and you set that with people, when they cross it, they have to know that you're not okay with it. It's not when people cross your boundaries
Right.
and then you don't do anything, you don't say anything. Nobody's going to respect your boundaries or you. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean by standing on business. And that's to me is what it looks like in practice, right? So a good example of
hmm
that for me, even as a therapist, like I set very strict boundaries on like work hours.
Yeah. Got to.
I don't take work. I don't do any work on the weekends. I
Yeah.
don't do work past a certain time. I don't do my notes past a certain time. And that is a big boundary for me. I don't even work on
Yeah.
Fridays past a certain time. So
hmm
that is an example of like standing on business. Like I don't play
Yeah.
about that. My clients don't also know about it and they're also
Yeah.
reasonable with, if they need to reach out to me. Obviously,
hmm
unless there unless there are unless there's like an emergency or something. But generally speaking, it's like you have to set your own boundaries and follow through with your own boundaries so that people can also respect that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that. I'm a boundary placer for sure. I be standing on business.
Mm,
Okay. So, what advice would you give to someone struggling with guilt after setting boundaries? Because sometimes we feel guilty that we have to. Well, I don't feel guilty, but some people may feel guilty that they have to put a hard no in something because they realize someone is trying to take advantage of them, or someone who's not used to setting those firm boundaries.
yeah, it's completely fine to feel some type of way at first, I think it's something you do have to get used to because it can feel like
Yeah,
you're being mean or it can feel like, you
yeah,
know, yeah, is this harsh? Is this, but so I do think normalizing just the feeling of it being like it might be hard or weird for people to do at first, but I do think it's something you get used to. And the way I like to see it is when you set boundaries with people in general, it actually does help the relationship become better. So whatever
yeah. It
boundary it
does.
is, whether it's with your mom, your
Yeah,
dad, your work, your boyfriend, your whatever, your friends, it actually is trying to make the relationship healthier. So
feel better.
that's
Yeah,
something I would tell someone is just remember that like this is actually in the long run going to benefit y'all when you set boundaries earlier on. rather than, because for instance, if you don't set boundaries, for instance, or do you want to deal with just some of the guilt or weird feelings you have about it in the beginning, or do you want to wait till later and then now you have resentment towards the person, or now you have
Right.
resentment towards your job or something,
Right.
all because you didn't set the boundaries and now you're resentful of it. So
Right.
it's like, I think in the beginning, if you're not used to it, yeah, it can feel a little weird. It can feel like you're being mean, but that's something that I always try to remember. And I think that's something that everybody needs to remember. This is actually going to benefit the relationship in the long
That's right.
run. Now, I will say boundaries, boundaries should be reasonable, right? Like there are some things
Yeah.
that obviously it's not like every single thing needs to be a boundary. Like, if you
Right.
if
Right.
you can help people sometimes, if you can make accommodate, if you can compromise sometimes, because as people we should compromise sometimes,
We do. Yeah, we
right?
should.
Like
Yeah.
that, yeah, that's fine. But if I think for me, when I think about it, it's like think of your deep values, think of things that how you are emotionally, like your emotional needs. But don't
Yeah.
make everything a boundary because now it's like
Right. Right.
now it can get to being
I think.
selfish territory.
Yeah, I think boundaries is just showing someone how to treat
Yeah,
you with, so you won't, you won't get manipulated, or you won't have that feeling that you felt before you didn't set those boundaries. Like it's just all about putting yourself first, loving you, and see if that person can reciprocate and do what you need instead of, you know,
exactly.
not saying no
Yeah.
business.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so now we getting into black men.
Mhm.
Okay. So why do you think it's particular important to create safe spaces for black men in therapy?
One, because they already feel like they don't have a lot of safe spaces, right? So
Yeah,
I do
that's
also
true.
see, oh, I meant to say, yeah. So in my practice, I do see both. I only see adults and I also see men and women. And so
Okay.
um, it is definitely.
What's the age? Sorry, not to cut you off. I want to get a clear age of like what you said. Only
Yeah, so
adults,
literally
like so
over
from 18.
18, yeah, 18 and above, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so I see women and men, right? And so it's very important to create that space because sometimes, yeah, they don't feel like they can share things literally outside of the therapy room. They don't feel like they can talk to their wives. They don't feel like they don't really have friends because men and
Yeah.
friends is a whole nother topic. Sometimes
Yeah.
they don't really open up to the friends. Sometimes,
Yeah. It be very surface level when it comes to like friendship
with
conversations
yeah,
with
men
men.
and men, yeah.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
they come to me, that's the space where they can really open up about like what they can't share with anybody else. That's the space that they can cry. That's the space that,
Mhm.
so, and just to feel validated is just super
Yeah.
important. So it's very important for me to listen and provide that safe space, and just be understanding. And to be honest, working with men has taught me a lot about men also,
Okay.
and just understanding in general what they really go through because men go through a lot and they don't say a lot. They don't
Yeah.
say a lot about how they
Right.
feel.
Right.
As women, we have community a lot, right? Like we're always
Yeah.
together. We're always going to brunch. We're always doing this. And we can share a lot about what we're going through. They don't. They don't have a lot of that, or they don't feel like they do.
I feel like they. I feel like So I do feel like that they do have the same things we do. It's just that they're so close minded and building community, or being open, that it shies them away from getting into that. Like I just feel like they're not open enough like how women are. But they do have certain resources that we have. They just don't utilize the resources that we have. That's just, my
Mm,
opinion.
yeah, it's very possible. But I also think sometimes they also feel like maybe they don't have those necessarily safe spaces, right? because that
Yes.
I think that's the difference, right? Even
Yeah.
if they might have places they can go and stuff like that, but is that a safe space though?
Safe
Right. So
for them
I
to
think
go.
that
Right.
might be the difference there.
The
Mhm.
difference. Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, what are some ways you can encourage men to seek mental health without the stigmatism?
Yeah, that's something I don't know if anybody has the answer to that because I think that's still something
And
that's
that's okay
ongoing.
because we don't have the answers for
Yeah, I
everything.
think that's something that's still ongoing of like trying to,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I always say you can't make anybody go to therapy.
Right. You
Right.
can't.
So I
Yeah.
think it's just trying to normalize and continuing to, yeah, normalize therapy and break down the stigma of therapy and continue to make therapy a safe space, continue to create safe spaces
Right.
where men can talk to each other, and talk freely without judgment. Because, their feelings matter too. And I think sometimes in this day and age in the society, sometimes whether it's the internet or this and that, sometimes it can probably make them feel like what they're going through doesn't matter, right? So it's very important
Right.
to normalize that, they have feelings too and they go through stuff too, and it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you have a lot of clients that sign up for therapy and then out of nowhere you get one visit out of them and then that's it? Like they never show up. Like, and how is that?
Yeah, that.
Is that like
Mhm.
all the time, or is it like it's just
Yeah,
sometimes?
that happens. Not all the time, just sometimes. And sometimes that might happen, but then they'll come back in a few months. And sometimes it happens because they may not be ready at the initial
Right.
time that they started. So they'll come back at a later time. Or sometimes it might be, other life events happen. Like let's say I met with a woman who, I don't know, maybe she was pregnant and then I don't see her again because she had to bear her baby, like,
And she did.
or,
Yeah.
a death in a family or, something. Sometimes it's also that. So, yeah, that definitely happens as therapists. That happens all the time, but it's not something that like, it's never like shocking. It's just kind of like, oh, you just got to keep pushing and go work with, your clients. But in my experience, yeah, it's usually one of those reasons.
Okay. So, what type of struggles have you faced as being a therapist and then like switching off to being like, your personal life? Have you experienced any like conflicts in regards to that or no?
Actually, not really. And why? Because I have boundaries.
Yeah, yeah,
Going
that's
back to
good.
what we talked about because of boundaries. I do a very good job of just not really mixing the two. I don't know how to explain it. I also don't work at
Mhm.
home, so I think that helps.
Okay.
Um, but I also think with experience, you hear so
Mhm.
much stuff that like it's not that like new or shocking or anything if you hear something super traumatic or like we kind of, it's sad to say, but sometimes you kind of get a bit desensitized a little bit to it. So it's not as
Mhm.
shocking because you have experience where you've heard a whole bunch
Right.
of stuff. But there are some times where it's like, ooh, you need a break from that one, from what you just heard. Sometimes it is a bit much. It definitely is a bit much. But I think because we're professionals and we have experience, we do learn to kind of separate it
That's it.
and learn to compartmentalize, I guess is the best word.
Yes.
And so when I'm
Yes.
at work and I'm doing work, I'm doing work. And then when I'm off work, I'm off work. And I'm really blessed that I've learned how to do that. Because I think sometimes it probably takes, when you're starting in this field, it can take a while to learn how to do that. But I think I found it. So
On your way. Can you like walk me through like um a story where you realize like yeah um this mental health is like calling like this is a need for me to do like I need to do this.
mm, Hmm. I don't think I had that feeling
Okay.
before I got into it necessarily. I think there have been moments as a professional in the last few years where I was like, yeah, this is where I thrive. This is, you know, yeah, I need to be in this. I think
Okay.
I've only felt that in certain sessions that I've had and with working with certain people and yeah, stuff like that. It's very specific to certain sessions and people. But I don't think I had that before I even, which is crazy, but I don't think I had that before I even got into the field.
Okay. Okay. Um, so what does healing generational trauma look like for you? What does it mean to you? Not look like for you.
It definitely looks like one, unpacking a lot of stuff in therapy. It means stopping the continuation of certain habits and traumas that maybe your mother and your grandmother and your family members have repeated. And that may seem like a big burden, but I think it requires
Yeah.
a lot of intention. I think it requires a
Yeah.
lot of intention on how the direction you want your life to go in. And, that requires work. It requires, again, therapy. It requires you um, doing things that may be
Very
right,
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable, and also the past generation didn't do the type of work that they
Yeah.
didn't do. It means entering new territory, right? Maybe finances was an issue in past generations, and you're the one who's gonna fix it. So it's a lot of hard work, but
Right.
I think it's just a lot of intentional. It's just a lot of intention to break a lot of these generational curses, yeah, or traumas.
I think sometimes, yeah, I think it's like I feel like our generation is the generation that is supposed to break all these generational curses. But that's just I'm not sure, maybe,
Yeah,
but I feel like I'm the person in my family that's supposed to break everything.
for
Okay,
sure.
that's how I feel.
Yeah.
So how do you practice Black joy and rest in your own life for some of the listeners?
Rest is doing nothing. Like sometimes doing nothing.
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 Sometimes.
Sometimes it's making sure, like this year, I hadn't traveled out of the US in a few years. And
Hmm.
I finally did again this year. I went on vacation to Mexico. So it's like making sure if you work, we work, which is great. We all put in
Yeah.
a lot of work. Yeah, we all put in a lot of work into the things that we do, but that's a big thing. That's something really huge that I've also learned is making sure you do prioritize that rest and whatever that looks like for you. Whether that's making sure you go on vacation, and for me, I realized that like, yeah, life I have to live this life. I have to really enjoy and be intentional about enjoying certain moments. And oh, yes, you're putting in a lot of work and all these things that you're doing. That's great, but make sure you take time to just not do and just be still, and just really enjoy what you've created too. So that's another thing. It's actually resting, going on vacation, whatever that looks like, but also taking time to see what you've done, like practicing that gratitude, see all that you've accomplished, and like big up yourself about it because it's like,
Right.
and that's something I definitely have had a habit of. It's like just going because that's what I was used to. I think that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of us are used to. We're just so
A lot
used
of
to
us don't
like,
do.
right. And
Right.
some people, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think that's like a trauma thing. And
Yeah, it is.
I
I
think
think
I
so.
think it can be. And so you have to be intentional about like if you know that this is something that is like a trauma response, it's like then you have to find at ways to make sure that you're not just continuing that. It's like, okay, I've worked, and I've been putting all this work. Okay, now let me be intentional about the times that I do take away from all this stuff. Let me be intentional about
Right.
practicing gratitude every day. Let me be intentional about seeing all the blessings God has given me. Like literally sit with it for a second. When I went on vacation and I sat by the beach, I journaled. Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. And my
Yeah.
friend had told me that too, like that to make sure I do that because I had a tendency of
Yeah.
not seeing it
Not
in
doing it.
in real
Yeah.
time. And so it's just being able to sit and just like wow, like from where I was last year to where I am now, all the things I wanted to do,
Right.
I'm doing, and just really sitting with that feeling and understanding that it doesn't have to be perfect for you to still be grateful to God and still practice gratitude and
Mm-hmm.
still bask in all the blessings that you ask for. So to me, it's definitely being intentional about just taking a break, and
Mm-hmm.
then also, being how I also practice joy is like practicing gratitude, worshiping, just doing things that make me smile. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's nothing. Like I just like
Right.
sitting and just
Yeah.
scrolling through YouTube or whatever and just doing nothing, and that brings me joy. And joy can look different, that could look different every day, but obviously the anchor in all that joy is definitely, my relationship with God. And that's definitely that because that joy does not go away. Right. So,
Right. Right.
but yeah, so that's some of the ways that am more intentional about like rest and joy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, practicing. I love practicing Black joy. I love resting. I don't want to do. Listen, my brain be going so a mile a minute. Okay, I can't wait to rest. But what about the people? What about the women? Well, not just women, but what about all the people who are not like on their faith journey or their mental health journey? Like, what is some type of advice like you can give to them to try to like pull them in? And I know you can't make people go to therapy, but what are some other things that they can do to probably like get something started or to feel a little bit better in their life?
Journaling. Like, come on, let's start with journaling. I have my Turn Your Future Self
Hmm.
journals. The journals are a great way to let out, how you're feeling. If you're not
Yeah.
ready to talk to someone, you could definitely start journaling. But yeah, like what we talked about earlier, it really comes down to
Hmm.
when a person is ready. It's different for everyone, right? So like we
Yeah.
might be thinking somebody needs to go to therapy, but they have to decide that.
They not
They have to
ready.
decide
Yeah.
that they want to go. I've seen people who somebody pushed them to go and they don't come back because they don't want to be there. Like, they don't want to be there.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's just right now finding positive coping mechanisms, whether that's
Hmm.
journaling or positive outlets, exercise. Like exercising and all that stuff can be super helpful for your mental health.
Yeah.
So it's just those are some healthy ways to just take care of your mental health. But I think actually the actual starting the therapy, it's really up to the person to really get that started.
So basically, you said journaling, work fitness helps out. Um, what else did you say? Yeah, you just said journaling and fitness. What I think is whatever makes you feel better, like baths, going out, being in a community, getting around people, like-minded people that you like.
Yeah, community. Oh yeah,
That'll help
we
and that'll
forgot
bring you
that.
closer.
Community is
Yeah,
huge.
community.
Community
Yeah,
is huge. Definitely get around like-minded
yeah,
people. If you're a woman, get around like-minded women. Like so you feel like you can
Yeah.
talk to about them, whether that's like a church small group or just women that you know have just connected with along the way. That's one of the reasons I created my community, so that it's like women who are trying to grow also can find people to grow with,
Right.
things like that. But yeah, community is super is huge, and
Of
as
course.
we get older, we're
Yeah.
gonna need more community.
You need more
Right,
community.
right.
Right. So, how can people find you, connect with you, sign up for one of your sessions, purchase your journal? Like, tell the people where they can get this stuff from.
Yes. So to her future self, like I said, we're a brand all about helping people grow in their faith, mental health and wellness, and personal development. So we have events all year. You know, we have like a prayer board event at the beginning of the year. Then we have some other little events throughout the year. And our big event is the picnic experience, which is happening July 19th. So get your tickets. It's going to be amazing. We have amazing panelists who are going to be sharing about this year's topic is how you're tapping, how we can tap into our God-given creativity, and so it's going to be amazing. We're also doing a pitch and pour contest. It's so cute, which is going to be people having a chance to pitch their ideas and creative ideas,
Oh,
and
okay.
then we're going to pour into them and we're going to give them some
Oh,
feedback.
wow.
So definitely,
Okay.
check that out where everything is to her future self. So to herfutureself.com. Instagram is to her future self. TikTok is to her future self. Email to her future self, the number one at gmail.com. So, yes, just, that's our next big thing is the picnic experience. It's going to be amazing. This is our third annual one. And so early bird tickets are out right now. So definitely come. You're going to learn a lot about how to tap into your God-given creativity, hearing from people who've been able to do that. God is going to be in the room, of course, and it's just highlighting beautiful, beautiful spirit, women and yeah,
Spirit,
and
uh,
women who are
beautiful creative.
exactly, and women
Yeah.
who are really going after the purpose that God has given them.
Their
Yeah.
purpose. Right.
Hmm.
Oh, well, that sounds amazing. I'm going to be at her event, guys. So,
Yay! Come through. Yes.
so I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. But I just want to thank you so much for joining me on a Black Impact today. It was lovely getting a insight. You. I really enjoy your feedback, your opinion, and guiding everyone on what they can do and how you show up in the therapy world because we need
Yes, we
therapists
do.
for sure.
Oh, and one more thing. I don't, a lot of people think I have a private practice, or I actually don't have a private practice right now. I am
Okay.
about to start taking clients though, in like,
Yay, her book is open.
and I think I should be able to start taking insurance will start. Oh,
Of course. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Black Impact podcast today. My lovely guest, Brenda, the therapist, is here with me. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to both of our channels, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, guys. All right, bye bye.